is happening? So here's the deal, guys. I'm getting ready to route my binding slot in my headstock, and I've got it set. I don't want to do the big thick binding on the headstock. I'm going to do it a little bit shallower than the rest of the guitar, just because I like the look of it. It's a little bit more delicate. You have the fingerboard, which is X amount of thickness. It'll come up here, it'll get a little thinner, and on the body it'll be a little thicker. So you see I've stopped that route right at the edge of that binding, I mean of the head cap. Mud can't talk. See, it goes around, and it ends right at the end of the head cap, and I'll just chisel that little corner out. Coolio. So I'm happy with that. All right, so here we go. I've got my little binding router set up here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the binding routed in this body. I'm a little thick down at these corners here, down in these little areas here, because that's where the top comes up pretty sharply. So I'm going to have to do some finessing down in this area, but in general, I'm just going to route the binding even all the way around and then just work those areas that I need to. Cool. Pretty girls walking town, a high heel, a clicking sound, a catching up. All right, cool. And I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see this, but right here, I've just got a little bit of the walnut left. So I'm going to adjust and just take another hair off until I get really close to the bottoms there, and then I'll feather it in these areas right there. So that's what we're going to do. Is all the boys were hoping just to be a toy. Red light in your eyes, you make them all wanna cry. So here we go. It is time to bend bindings. So what I've got here is I've got a couple of pieces that are a little thicker than the others to catch around this end here, and my iron is hot. Crack a smile and lead them down a lonely mile, a cold road you seem to find, you lose their hearts, you lose their minds. Miles are gone, and so are you, like a dream, passing through, like the wind, like the rain, drive the young boys all insane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this in. I'm going to cut it off a little past what I need here. Going to give it one more little spritz with water, and I'm going to tape this stuff in. Okay, that's one side. Let me get this other side going here. 40 days, 40 nights, the tears fall, turn out the lights, running dry, running free, all alone to the sea. Okay, well, I'm gonna take a little break. I've got to fix, I've got to cut a couple more bindings. It's just the way it goes. It's all cool. I'll get her done. I ain't scared.
2,000 years later.
All right, here I am. I'm getting ready to bind this headstock, but I got to make a lot of little miters and stuff. So I've got my snippers. I got my little tool here. Got my glue, and I got lots and lots of tape. And that's how we're gonna do this thing. So first off, I'm gonna cut off a square end, and I am going to fit it, because the way this thing is angled, you know, the headstock's coming up and I've cut it off straight. I've got to put a little bit of an angle down and a little bit of an angle in. I pre-bent these, at least pretty close. I kind of actually over-bent a little bit. I'm just trying to eyeball these angles. Main thing is just to get them to seam up really well. Okay, well, that's the 4 pieces. Now the little tricky one here, and I'm not sure which way I bent it, but it actually looks pretty good right there. Okay, so here's the deal, a little trick for you. Just make sure that when you do miters, these small style miters like this, that your first couple pieces of tape that are going to hold this together actually get some tension going towards the miter, just to make sure, you know, that it's tight up against the other piece there. I want to look really good, make sure all my gaps are closed up. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a little time looking at the gap right here, just to make sure that thing is tight up against the walnut and tight up against itself. Okay, I'd say that sucker's mummified. Yes, sir. That can sit overnight. Okay, and now it's for the beast. So the way this is going to work is I am only going to do one section at a time. Question is, what section do I want to start with?
The following Thursday.
Hey gang, what is happening? All right, here's the deal. I have been working on this guitar hot and heavy at school, so I didn't get a chance to film everything, but hopefully you guys can see it doesn't look that much different than the last time you saw it. All of the bindings are done, so I got all the koa bindings in the guitar. I have the F-holes taped up because I have that koa below there. I've got the 2 pickup cavities routed, all that other stuff. I showed you all that stuff before. Mainly I got the binding done, and I got these comfort carves done, the belly carve, the little leg carve, you know, this carve here for playing up the neck. Probably do another small one there, and I have the radius put on there, and I've kind of softened up all the edges where the control cavity cover is going to go. So those are all the things I've done to the body. Doesn't seem like a lot of stuff, but it takes a lot of time. So that's kind of what I've been doing. So now one of the last things I need to do is finish carving this neck. I've kind of roughed it out on the sander, and now I am going to carve away. I have all my implements of destruction over here. Well, these are some of the tools I use for carving. I've got a bunch of array of files and rasps and these old school abraders and just some dowel with sandpaper on them. I've got some pretty gnarly ones too. This is made out of an old bandsaw blade where I just interlock them. I've got a few of those that I've made over the years. This is like a little hook thing out of a thinner blade. And then I've got rasps and a whole assortment of pretty gnarly files as well. So I've got all kinds of stuff in here. And it just whatever presents itself, whatever I need, I have to, I just dig out of the pile and go at it. So I've got the neck here, and I roughed it all out. I got it really close. I got the fingerboard glued on, and I got the sides really close, and I've taken most of the material off on the end of the belt sander. I've got to address this volute. I want a nicer, little more delicate volute there, and I've got to get these sides down to the exact side of the bindings there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these sides down very carefully, because I don't want to tear up the bindings. So I'm going to continually check, and what will happen is as soon as I hit it, I will actually see that last little bit of maple peel away, and maybe just a little tiny scuff on the koa binding. You know, and the key to this stuff, if you're just starting out, is to really just take your time. You can't put wood back. That's a saying by my buddy Joe Valley. He used to always say it, and still says it. You can't put wood back. So once you've taken it away, there it is. That's what you got left. So make sure you kind of ease your way into this stuff. What's happening is I'm going to have 3 straight edges to reference. My bindings will be 1 straight edge, and then I'll level the back of this. And then as I put my facets in, I have those 3 straight edges to guide me. So what I do, the way I look at this, is I'll go in and I'll actually cut this pretty much straight, maybe just a 5-degree angle from considering the binding as flat, so maybe 5 degrees. The next thing, I'll come in and I'll do about a 15-degree angle, and I'll file a flat portion there, and then I'll come back and I'll move up a little bit more, and I'll put in a 30-degree angle. Then what I'll do on the back is, once I get this back completely flat and I have my next straight area here down to the numbers that I want, then I'll do a 15-degree angle from there, a 30-degree angle, and then I'll do about a 45. So that gives me 0, 15, 30, 0, 15, 30, and a 45 in between the two. So I actually have 7 facets going from the back of the neck to the side of the neck. And that gives me that really kind of nice round C shape, or just really a round neck that I like. My numbers I usually shoot for is about 800 behind the first interval, and wherever the heel starts, I'm usually right around 900. So 800 thousandths to 900 thousandths is what I'll be shooting for on this neck. I've gone thicker, I've gone a little thinner, but this is what I've come to really like over the years, and that's what I'm going for. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now, is I'm going to check my thicknesses at these 2 ends here and see where I am. Let me get on inches and zero this out and loosen this up, make sure I can move. And I'm going to check this, and I'm at about 860 there and about 950 there. So I'm just about 50 over. So I'm going to carve a flat spot between here and here, and that'll create my 3rd straight edge for this. So I know where my 2 low spots are. And one of the things I'll do is I'll use a piece of aluminum. If you use a little flat piece of aluminum, you can actually rub it on the back of the neck here, and it will actually leave these little black marks at your high spots. So I'll come in and I'll carve those spots down. When I move the file down, it's really aggressive. It can leave some pretty big marks. If you see me going sideways, that's because I'm softening up my tension, and I don't want to leave as many little gouges from the file, because it's a pretty aggressive file, and I don't want to chase it forever to get all of the scratches out with sandpaper. So the lighter I go, and the more on an angle I go, the less the scratches are. Okay, so now I've got my 3 straight edges established. I've got the back of the neck as one, and I've got my 2 bindings as the others. So what I'm going to do now is I'll put marks all the way along the side of the fret fingerboard here. all the way down. And what I'm going to look for is a line just about, maybe not quite, 1/8 of an inch above the bindings or the side of the fretboard, whatever it is. And I'm going to go on that 15-degree angle, and I'm going to file down till I hit that line. Okay, now I'll do the same thing on the other side. And I'm just estimating this angle. Once I get to sanding this thing, it's going to be like like shining shoes, and that will help me to determine my roundness here. So there's that. I've got that mark on there. I'm going to come in at about a 15-degree angle, and I'm going to take it down just till I hit my line. I'm trying to maintain that angle very similar to the other side. You can get your little, I have like a digital protractor. Sometimes I'll break that out just to see if my angles are still good. But I think I've done this long enough to have a pretty good idea where they are. So now I'm going to set another set of lines here. I'm going to draw another line up about 1/8 of an inch above my first one, and then this time I'll come in on about a 30-degree angle. And then again, I'll file that 30-degree angle to there. And I'm just going to show you this 1/2. You guys don't have to sit through this whole thing here. Now I'll go to the back of the neck, and again I'm going to put some, so I'm going to start from my straight edge on the back of the neck here. I'm going to put some marks there, and then I'm going to give myself a mark about 1/8 of an inch away from the center line on here. It's a little bit of a taper, so I got to kind of pull my finger in as I'm doing that. Now I'm going to go 15 degrees from this surface, so flat 15. I was going flat from this side to 15 and then to 30. Now I'm going flat to 15. I think I got a little high spot up here, but I'm just going to show you what's happening. You guys will figure it out from there. Okay, so now I'm going to put another line again, about another 1/8 of an inch in from the original. Mark this. Now I'm going to come in at about that 30-degree angle. And go to that line. So now I've got a little point here where my two 30-degree angles have met, and I'm going to put lines across there like so, and then I'll do my final 45-degree angle. So hopefully you guys are getting the math on this. 15, 30, 45, 15, 30, 45. So that's where they meet up at that 45-degree angle there. And then I'll just come back really lightly after all is said and done and just walk my way up every stroke. Once I've done that, I've kind of got that there, I will take my little abrader here, and I'm going to clean off some of those deep gouges from the file. There. And then I will take my aluminum bar again, and then I can just kind of go all the way down the side, and this, my little aluminum bar, is going to leave marks where I'm high. Okay, so really that is the technique that I'm going to use throughout the rest of this process here. Is I'm going to do those angles. So when it's all said and done, I'll actually have 13 facets. Hey, I like that number. It's a good number. So I'll actually have 13 facets from binding to binding, and that's what I want to do. And then I'll get in there with my sandpaper and I'll do the little shoe shine thing, and then that's when I'll finish sand. I still have to carve the heel as well. I have to kind of fit that to the body. So I'm going to get it roughed in. Once I glue it to the body, then I'll actually finalize it, because I got to make sure those transitions to the body are nice and smooth so you don't feel the difference when you get up to the body joint. That's kind of key. So hey, it's Mud, and I am ready to sand this guitar out. Still haven't got my inlay done. I've got it cut, I just haven't put it in yet, and I want to get this bad boy sanded out. I need to get that done. I'll do the fret work, drill the holes for the bridge, make sure that's in the exact right place, and then we'll start the finish process. I've done a couple of things while we were apart, and one of them is actually carved this heel. I had a friend come over and feel it. He's a Les Paul guy. Well, one of his guitars is a Les Paul, and we talked about a few different things, and this is what we came up with, a nice modification of the Les Paul heel. It's a little bit easier to get up the neck, but you still have that reference point, that stop, that back of the neck, but nothing sharp there. I've got all those comfort carves kind of put in throughout here, the back here, and then also yeah, that big transition there. And I worked on the volute a little bit, and I've got the neck really nice. I've spent a lot of time on the back of the neck here just to get that like really golden. So now I'm going to sand this thing out. So I got my trusty cleanse spore here. I've got some I've got 100. I've got some 100 grit here. I've got some 150 grit, and then I've got some 240 grit. So these are the grits that I'm actually going to go through on this thing. I'm going to start out with 100 because I still got a couple little scratches here and there that I want to get out, and then I will move on to 150, breeze the whole thing in 150, make sure I get all those 100 scratches out, and then I'll go to the 240 and get it as smooth as I can with that. Okay, well that's most of the body. I'm going to have to get into here by hand, into the little horns here, and a couple of other little spots. I didn't hit the back of the neck because I've already pretty much sanded that out pretty well. So I'm not going to go backwards in grits. I've already got this down to 150, so I'm not going to mess with that anymore. Most of the back of the neck I'll actually finish by hand. So I'll do that. So now I'm just going to go ahead and switch over to some 150. Hit the whole thing again, and then I'll go back and do all 3 grits inside of this too. So here we go. Okay, cool. So I've got this whole thing to 240, but at this point, here comes the hard part, because here's how I'm going to do all the hand sanding, and I'm going to kind of take my time with this. I've got to do all these little transitions from the carves to the corners where the actual regular radius is, and then going into the comfort carves and the neck heel and the volute and all of those things. So that stuff's all going to have to be done with by hand. So I'm going to get to that here shortly, and hopefully today I'll get that inlay in on the 12th fret, and then I can start doing my etching and my staining on the inlay, and then I'll get her fretted up, put the bridge on, make sure it's in the correct place, and then we'll get some finish on this bad boy. Still haven't completely decided what finish I'm going to put on there, but we'll get it figured out here shortly because we're running out of time. I am getting ready to put this inlay in this guitar because I need to get my butt in gear and get this thing finished. This week is just 2 weeks before the end of the Great Guitar Build-Off, and I don't have any frets or finish or anything on this thing. Luckily, I'm going to do some poly, and that'll go pretty quick. However, I still got to get the fret work done. I got to get everything installed. I still got to drill the holes for the bridge. But right now, the thing that was holding me up the most was getting my inlay in. Now, when we found this top here, this beautiful piece of walnut here, we opened it up and we put some naphtha on there, and we figured out that it looked like a gargoyle, right? So I said, well, you know what? Maybe I'll put a gargoyle on the 12th fret. If you guys look at my guitars, on Mug Guitars, you'll see that sometimes I'll just do a 12th fret inlay, something kind of cool, and just put dots in it. This guitar, I think I'm just going to do the 12th fret. I've got pearl dots on the side already, so I think I'm just going to do this 12th fret inlay on here. So let me show you this. I want to show you guys so you can get a view of this. This is my gargoyle. So what you're seeing is the paper that's on the front of it, and where I'm going to etch. So these will go in as 5 sets of 5 pieces of pearl that will go in, and then I will do all of the little outlines with the etcher and etch all of the little lines in there, black them in, and should be pretty cool. So yeah, that is the gargoyle, and that is the reason why we are calling it the gargoyle. And with all the crazy wacky stuff I've seen in the contest, this is as wacky as I could get, so had to throw myself a little bone for that. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to take this piece off of here. I'm going to lay it on the 12th fret where I need it to go. I'm going to trace around it, and I'm going to take my trusty little Dremel here, and I'm going to Dremel out the space to put this in. So hopefully I can get this done in a relatively short amount of time. I'll try to be as accurate as I can. Luckily it's an ebony board. If there's any little spaces around it, I will fill those in. You know, I'm sure there's a CNC machine that can do this. But I usually only do one-off guitars. You know, I custom build stuff for people, and I want it to be what they want. This is something I thought was really cool, so this is what I'm going to build, and I'm going to put a gargoyle in it, and that's all there is to it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my thinnest piece, which happens to be the head of this gargoyle. And the other thing is, I think I told you guys, I'm doing all of this stuff. It's all gold hardware, and I just happen to have in my little stash of stuff over the years some pretty much gold pearl. It might be hard to see, but it's actually got a real gold tint to it, and I've been saving this stuff for just such an occasion. So this is the occasion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check the depth of my Dremel here, so it's at least almost as deep as my thinnest piece. And like I said, the head here is the thinnest piece. So I am going to loosen this up and drop it down just a little bit more. I don't really want these things sunk in. I want them sticking up just a little bit so I can sand it off at the end and make it nice and flat, or the arch of the board, enough that I can etch it out. Here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to take our little dude, and I'm going to get the board a little closer to me. I'm going to go and make sure it's the 12th fret. Oh, many a days people have put fret markers and things in the wrong, on the wrong fret intervals, and unless you're playing a different type of instrument that requires that, then I would say don't do it. I've got me a sharp little pencil here. I'm pretty happy where Mr. Gargoyle is sitting, so I am very carefully going to hold him down, and I am very lightly going to trace around him. I've got a little outline on there where Mr. Gargoyle is going to go. So now I'm going to bust out my Dremel. There is Mr. Gargoyle inlaid in the fingerboard, and what I will do is now I'm going to trace the lines on top where his where the frets are. I'm going to trace those lines right across the top of here, and then I'm going to take those pieces and I'm going to cut them. So right now I only have 5 pieces, but in a little while I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces that I'll glue in, and I will get those bad boys glued in there, and then I'll re-level the board and fill around them with some epoxy, because I'm sure I missed in a couple little spots. I got some little tiny gaps in there. but I will fill around him, and then I will do all of my etching. I'll really finish and level the board. I'll do all my etching, and then I'll fret right over that little gargoyle sucker. And that's kind of it, man. Cool. Well, glad you guys could drop by. So there's only going to be really one more video after this. So I think what's going to happen is that after this video, we'll have one more next week, which will be the wrap up. Hopefully this thing is you know, done, or at least really close to done, and I can show you all that stuff. And yeah, man, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching all this silly stuff. And I just really enjoyed it. I really did. Had a good time doing this stuff. There's something special about doing stuff for charity, you know, and just digging it, just really digging it. So again, man, thanks to Crimson and all that other stuff that went on. And that's it. Coolio. Peace. See you later.